Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today is Friday, April 16th. Today's video is going to be so much different than any video I ever done. I never even thought I would do this video or talk about this topic. Not that I would be against it, it just never came to me. And lately I've been watching a lot of videos on families who have been separated by deportation and how they made it work. And so far it's been mainly in Mexico. So I thought, okay, it's hit close to home, even though my husband, who is from Mexico, has never been deported. And he is a legal resident here in the United States. He's been here since 1985. And he had a long journey himself, but he did the process that he had to do at that time. And so we don't live in that fear that he's going to be deported. I'm, of course, born in the United States. I was born in the Bay Area in California. I'm Puerto Rican. So even if I was born in Puerto Rico, I would be a United States citizen, but I wasn't. I was born here in the United States on the mainland. And it touched me because the part that I can relate to is living abroad. So I met my husband at the end of 1989. And, you know, when we met and we had such a special connection. And it was just like love at first sight, per se. And I thought he was so cute. So cute. He had long hair and he thought the same about me. I was 24 years old. He was 28. But we were both going through situations in our lives. He was already planning and thinking about separating. His marriage wasn't working. And of course, I had been separated for a few years already. And I was just trying to find myself, start a new journey in my life, and just see where my journey took me and what I wanted to do. Of course, 24 is very young. So I was just trying to figure it all out. You know, I didn't expect to be separated and on my journey to a divorce at that time. When I married forever from what I thought. I married loving my ex-husband. And then he did the same thing. He had good intentions. He had serious intention. He didn't marry for papers. He really married because he was going to make this relationship work. And so we both went in our marriages, you know, with the best intentions and really, you know, feeling what we felt at the time in that relationship. Unfortunately for the both of us, it didn't work. Like I said, I had already been separated for a few years. I had a daughter in that marriage. I had a trauma from that marriage. It was a lot of domestic violence in that marriage. It was a lot of pain and suffering. And I just couldn't take it anymore. And at the end, I fought back. I fought back hard. I got pretty beaten, but I fought back. I was willing to die fighting because I was tired. I was tired of being scared, tired of suffering physically, emotionally, and mentally. I was just tired. I was too young to be going through that. I wanted to live life, and I knew that if I stayed in that marriage, I wasn't going to have any life. And I was even threatened afterwards that if I didn't go back to that relationship, that they would, you know, take that life from me. And I said, well, you do what you feel you have to do, but I'd rather be dead than ever be with you. So I was just that determined. I didn't want to be in the marriage anymore. I didn't want to live in fear anymore. I didn't want to live crying and hurting and, like I said, physically, emotionally, and mentally just being beaten. And so I got out of it. And at the end of the day, he felt like it wasn't worth it either. And so, you know, what good would it do to take my life or to take his life or to take both of our lives? What good would that really do? And it's not that he cared about our child. He didn't. But I think he felt like, you know, she really will never be with me again, whether she's here or not. So I think he knew I was serious and that it just wouldn't be worth it to, you know, take life away from either one of us. And so, yeah, it was pretty much that, you know. So yeah, so I was on my journey to find what I was going to do next in life, what I was willing to accept from here on out and not accept. And, you know, I didn't really want to be with anybody. I really wanted some time, some years for myself to really get to know myself and really get to know what I want. So I wouldn't make that same mistake of choosing the wrong person again. There was a child, like I said, in that marriage, but there was like a tragedy that that child didn't end up being in either of our lives. And I won't go into details because I don't care to tell that story. It's a very personal story, but I'm not interested. I don't care to tell that story because it's not about the child. It's about me and my journey is, you know, that kind of, I'm trying to get to where I led up to meeting my husband. And so I'm leaving the child part behind in a separate suitcase. And like I said, it has nothing to do with my child and that whole story. It's over and done with. And I just, want my life to be respected and I want to respect other people's lives. And so it doesn't need to be, brought up in anything that my journey in my life now. So I hope you understand if I don't get into that part of my life, that detail. So yeah, so I was separated for a few years and I was just working at a check cashing place, living with a friend in a studio apartment. My parents were still alive. I could have went back home to live with them, but I really didn't want to bother them. I come from a family of good careers and money. And although they offered it to me and stuff, I just wanted to pick up the pieces on my own. I wanted to find my own way and I wanted to get strong on my own and survive it on my own. So that's why I ended up living with a friend. I started working at check cashing place. And so, yeah, and he was going through his marriage. He wasn't happy. It wasn't working out. And he had brought up separation. And it was just a matter of time. So we met. I was on my way to the bus stop to go back home. I didn't have a car at that time. And we met. He came to the bus stop. His car was in the shop that day. So him and his friend walked to the bus stop. Otherwise, we would have never met. If the car had not been in the shop, we would have never met because we would have never been at that bus stop together. And I heard him say, "Look what I found." And I think he thought I didn't speak English. So I turned back around real quick and he's like, "Oh my gosh, you speak Spanish." And all I could see was this handsome man with long hair. And I thought, oh, he's so sweet. He wouldn't hurt a fly because we were working in one of the dangerous places in the Bay Area and it was pretty scary. And so, yeah, so that's why I turned around because I thought if they're going to rob me, I want to know who it is. Kind of some crazy reaction. But, and I grew up in Oakland, California, where I had to fight my way through for respect. I had to fight my way to show people that even though I may be scared inside, I wasn't scared. And if I was going to die, I was going to die fighting. So anytime somebody came for me, I responded. And so that was pretty much, so it wasn't that I was completely scared in that sense or surprised that something could happen in the area that we were in. But I just want to always be in control, and I wanted to make sure if somebody's going to rob me or hurt me, I want to know who it is or what I could do to protect myself. So we ended up stopping at that bus stop and just started talking and talking. We talked, it seemed like forever. I don't know if we even missed a bus or two, just talking. We had such a special connection. Like we were meant to meet. It was like we should have been met, but our life, or each other's life took different paths. And so I told him I was separated. And he said, okay. And I told him pretty much kind of where I was at in life and that I wasn't interested in a relationship or interested in dating, but I was flattered that he thought I was cute, that he was trying to flirt with me and all this other stuff. So we got on the bus together. We got on the same bus. And he lived in like 3 cities away from where I lived. So he was going to catch more buses. And so, yeah, so we laughed and laughed and, we kind of like patted each other. It was just a bond and a connection that I have never felt before and I've never felt again. And I think that even if me and my husband were never together, I would never feel again. So yeah, so a couple of months went by and I forgot all about him, really. I just didn't think about it because like I said, I wasn't interested in dating anybody or being in a relationship. So I didn't think about it. Not that he wasn't memorable, but just, I was just trying to do me. And so figure out my stuff. And then a couple of months later, he found out where I worked, and he made this heart as his job, and he put it under. We had bulletproof windows. That's how it was. And he said, "Hi, Carmen," and I'm like, "How do you know my name?" Because I hate when people know my name and I don't know you. And so he goes, "Don't you remember me at the bus stop?" And I looked at him like, "Oh yeah, people that get your number don't call." Because he did ask for my number, and I did give it to him, just to talk as a friend, or if we ever wanted to go to lunch together. But I made it very clear I wasn't interested in dating or being in a relationship, but just a chit chat. And he said, "No, no, no, no." He said, "I've been trying to figure out things in my life, and I had to go back to Mexico to what did he say? I had to go back to Mexico to take care of some paperwork and see my family, and I had to figure some things out, and I made a decision and where I want to do with my life. I've been thinking about it for a long time, and so I'm gonna make that decision. But I wanted to stop by and say hi, and see if you want to go out." I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. I told you. I made it very clear." So anyway, that's how we met, and we did date after that. I said, "Okay, let's go out once, just to have some fun." All I was around was my friend at that time. I was trying not to be around my family. I didn't want them to see me hurt or in need of anything. I wanted just to have space by myself and a life by myself to see if I could survive and I could come out of it stronger and do some important things in my life. So I was trying not to come around my family as much as possible. So this video is not about me and my husband's actual relationship, but I'm trying to just give you kind of a view of how we met. So, yep, we started dating after that. He ended up still in my heart, and he convinced me. And so after time, we started dating, and we got married, and the rest is history as far as that. We have 3 children together. So yeah, so maybe one day I'll do a full video of how we met and our wedding and our first wedding, all this stuff, because we just got married in the church in 2019. So that was a dream come true, a dream that we had worked on for so many years and worked so hard on it. And we ended up having to take a break because there were so many changes happening with the priest that was taking care of our paperwork. It was like different priests kept coming and leaving, and we had to take breaks and halt. And we finally just said, just let's leave it alone for a few years and see what happens. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be, and it did. After years, we finally did it, and we got married in a church, so we feel so complete. But that's a whole nother story as well. But I just wanted to kind of show you how we met. So we met in Oakland, California, and there have been some odds and ends of stuff like that, of being together, and yeah, so dating led up to, making some final decisions of our previous lives, and, where we were at and where we wanted to be. And we definitely knew we loved each other so much and we wanted to be together. And we've been together 31 years. So since 1990, we've been officially together. So yeah. So anyway, now it's going to lead to us living abroad. So when we first got together, we got our first apartment in San Leandro, California, and it was a nice apartment. And we had my first daughter in that relationship, Adriana. She was our love child for sure. But we had her before we officially got married. We lived together for 3 years because, like I said, we were making final decisions and adjustments in my life. I was legally separated for years, but I had not made that final divorce. He was separated, but his divorce hadn't been completed. His divorce actually, he did his divorce later, but his actually went faster. Mine's, I left in 87, and I didn't divorce officially into 93. And we had been living together for 3 years, but there was reasons. There was things involved in our marriage that I had to get an attorney and clear it all out and put it in its perspective. So that's why mine's took longer. Once I decided that I could do the divorce, and that I didn't have to come out of pocket so much money because divorces are expensive, and that I didn't want him to pay for it. I wanted to be able to do the divorce without a huge, expense. And so I found a way that I could do my divorce that ended up only costing me $5. I found a program and the way to do the documents. And so I did all the documents myself, got the package, did all the documents myself, got all the advice from the attorney that I needed to, and it worked out. But it took longer for me to get divorced. But we were clearly in love and together. And so we lived together for 3 years. So yeah. And so when we got together, he was already a legal resident. So never was with him as a illegal person or undocumented person. I never had that. He had already started a process of becoming a legal resident, and he was a legal resident when I met him and been with him. So I didn't have that fear of deportation or anything. Unfortunately, when he started his process of his legal residence, he did it based on marriage, and there was requirements that you needed to have. You needed to show that you were really married because you were intending on really having a relationship with that person, that you didn't marry for your papers. And if there was a child involved, which it was, he had a child from that marriage, then it really showed. It showed that you must have had good and serious intentions because you would have had a child. You would have said, oh, no, 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 because I don't plan to stay here, or I don't plan to do anything. We all, I think, go in with good and serious and honest, loving intentions, and he did. And so, yeah, but it just did not work out. And so he was separated before the 2 years. You had to be married for 2 years. So he separated before the 2 years was actually up. So when it was time for him to go up for review, they said, well, you didn't stay the 2 years, but the fact that you had a child and there was a relationship clearly and seriously and honestly established, that's a good sign. So we believe you. We believe you didn't get married for papers. We believe you had the best of intentions. It just didn't work out. So, but because you left before the 2 years, now we're going to have to base your legal residency and your paperwork on your wife now. And so she will take over, and she will start the process over. You will still keep your temporary legal residence, which it was permanent, but at the same time, you had to go up before the review to prove that that you were honest, and you, like I said, had the best intentions to be able to keep that residency. So he said, so we're going to start the process over. You'll still be able to keep your legal residence because we got enough evidence with you being with your wife. So you are married, so you have the best intentions. You guys have a child together as well. So you definitely have honest and good intentions. And I could see how you love your daughter. I could see how you talk about, your previous life and how everything went down and how everything happened and stuff like that, and you have your documentation, so we know it's true. And so we'll base your permanent residence on your marriage now and the child that you have now, and even though you've proven that you had best intentions previously. So he did. We did all the documentation, we had photos, we had everything to prove. We proved everything about us and our marriage and our family life, and we're going from here, and here we are 31 years later. So it definitely was real, definitely was the best intentions. And when I married with my ex-husband, I had the best intentions. I didn't do that husband's paperwork. He was already legal. In fact, I think he was already a citizen. I don't even think he was a permanent resident because he was from El Salvador. So I think he was sponsored by a family member, I believe his sister. So they did his paperwork and his legality that way. So he was already done before we got married. So I didn't do any paperwork or any permanent residency or citizenship with my ex-husband. He was already taken care of, done, completed. He did a whole nother route. So I didn't have fear in that marriage either. But I was happy to do it for this husband because we were in love. We were happy. We were a family. We had our daughter, and we're about to have more children. And so This was going to be a forever thing, and we've proven that because we've been together 31 years later. Everybody makes mistakes. He feels like he's made some mistakes, like not in, he's been married 3 times. Don't think that's bad. Don't come for us and don't judge us. You know, a lot of people have been married a couple times or several times. You know, there's a reason for everything. No, like I said, nobody goes into marriage thinking, okay, I'm going to just, in so much time, I'm going to get divorced because I'm really the person, I'm going to really hurt this person, or I really just want this. You know, the truth comes out. Eventually, the truth comes out. And he's been always able to prove his honesty, his real intentions, his best intentions, and that he was for real in everything he did in his life. Nothing was fake, nothing was fraud. You know, he wanted it to be what it should have been, but unfortunately, things don't work out. But, you know, again, just to clarify, his first marriage was in Mexico when he was really young, and we got that marriage was in a divorce way before even his second marriage, and we just got an annulment, the finalized annulment on that marriage, on all our marriages. I had to get, in order for us to get married in the church, we were already divorced with all of our relationships. We had our legal divorces, but we had to know everything. We had to know my marriage, even though it wasn't in the Catholic Church. And even though I was divorced, we had to know that marriage. He had to know his second marriage, even though he was divorced. It has to be an annulment. It can't be divorced, even if it's not in the Catholic Church. And the first marriage definitely had to be an annulment because it was in the Catholic Church. That was the big serious one that definitely had to be annulled. And usually you get an annulment based on adultery, which that happened. But we didn't, and we told that story and it was documented, but it wasn't truly based on that. The annulment was pretty much based on that they were underage when they got married. And even though their parents okayed it, they didn't have the mentality or the maturity to enter into this marriage. And that's why so much bad happened and it ended up where it ended up. So, but it was a work in progress. We had been working on that annulment to get married in the church since we were together. It took years because, like I said, different priests kept coming and going. We would start this paperwork for days and hours and weeks and months. We would be on the floor providing all these documentations, which was tons and tons and tons and tons of witness testimony, stories, backing up, proving everything, which we had no problem. We were willing to put in the time and the effort because we loved each other. This meant everything to us to get married in the church. So we did it. But then one priest would leave and they'd had some paperwork on file and we had our paperwork, but we had to start the process over with that priest. And after the 5th priest, we said, okay, that's enough. This is a lot. This is a lot. It takes your energy. It takes your time. It consumes you. And even though we are people for the long haul, we are fighters, we are survivors, we are people for the long haul, we just thought, okay, maybe we need to take a break. We need to take a step back and take a break from this. And when it's the right time, we'll know it and we'll do it again. And so years went by and we knew exactly when it was the right time. We had the right priest that we had a special, special connection with. He wasn't going anywhere anytime soon. He was going to stay till the end to finish our process. He was fast. He was detailed, just like we were, and just everything fully connected perfectly. And so that took a year because we had already invested so many years in documentation and we had everything together, even though we had to do it sort of all over, but using everything that we put together, so that wasn't in vain. All those years and hours and weeks and months and stuff and hard work, and so hard to get many of those documentations, we still had to refresh it and start all over using everything that we did so it wouldn't be in vain, but also having a starting new process. So it even made it double the work, I should say. So, but we did it. So we started the process again in 2018. We completed it in almost a year's time, and we got the final annulment and approval to go ahead. The annulment was approved by the Catholic by the Catholic courts and the Pope and everything, and we had the thumbs up and the letter of approval to go forward to get married, and that's what we did. And so I'll do a whole video on that too. There's a video of our wedding. of our wedding day in the church, so look at that. And I might put up a video of our original wedding in 1993, and we celebrate both. And then I'm so glad we also did this at that time, because who would have known that a year later, and not even a year later, like 9 months later, we would be 10 months, 10, 11 months later, we would be in a pandemic. And we wouldn't have been able to do our dream wedding because all the churches had to close and stop. So we were truly blessed to have done it in such perfect timing, in such a perfect way. I can't thank God enough. He's so good to us, and we deserved it. We worked so hard for it, and we have big hearts. We're honest, loving, giving, humble people. We work so hard for everything we have from beginning to end. We have a beautiful family together, a beautiful marriage. So we deserved it, and God just knew, and he made it all work out. So, and I'll do videos on that too, but this was meant to kind of get you a preview of how we ended up living abroad, and when did we do it, and what did it feel like, and what were the things that I liked, that didn't like, what did I get used to, what did I not get used to. You know, why did I come back to the United States? I mean, I would always be a U.S. citizen. It's my birthright. I was born and raised here, and so I would always have a right to be here. This is my birthright. So I never had a fear of never coming back to the United States or not being able to come back to the United States. And the fact that my husband, when we went to live abroad, he was a permanent legal resident, so we didn't have any worries or fears about deportation or anything like that. So I feel for these people, these people that have done these videos and have shown us, taken us into their lives and shown us that deportation is not the end of life. It's very painful, it's very hurtful, and it's very scary. But they're showing us a way that it can work. And so it's been a pleasure to see all their videos, and I'll put in the description the ones that I've been watching and that I love and stuff. So yeah, so it just made me want to tell my story and my journey of how it was when we lived abroad. It was a situation where it was a, a situation where, okay, it's not working out here. It was like a recession. It wasn't working out in the United States. We needed to make some changes. A family member told us, come live in this city where we live and things will be better. And we thought maybe it will work out. Plus we'll be around family. So we sold everything we have, or, gave some things away and made that decision to go live in that town. My husband did end up getting a job. It wasn't the best job, but he did end up getting a job. And I ended up staying home to raise my baby because my baby was just a few months old. And so, but I did end up working part-time at Wells Fargo Bank there. So I don't know if somebody's coming or not. So it did work out, but it still wasn't the best situation. And so, so yeah, so this is going to be a series for this topic. Sorry, did you hear that? So this is going to be a series. It's going to be in different parts. It's going to be about the same story, but in different topics. Do I explain myself? So it's going to be about our journey of when and how we lived abroad and what led to that, which I was just kind of explaining that part to you. So we moved to that town. We both got jobs. I got a part-time job so I could be with my baby the rest of the day, and my husband but it just wasn't working out. We were living with another couple. It just wasn't working out living in that town at all. It wasn't what it was made out to be. And so we decided, okay, my parents were they weren't old, but they were, I don't know how they were, probably in their 50s maybe, but they both had diabetes, and so they weren't doing too well. And my husband wanted to take some time to be with them. And so we decided, and I thought, okay, I met his mom and I met his dad. I met his dad once when we took a train with his mom and I visited Mexico. So I had previously met his dad, and I had met his mom, I believe, a couple of times before we actually moved to Mexico. So we decided, since it's not working right now and it's like a recession and pretty rough right now in the United States, let's take this time and just go. We start off as a long vacation and see if we like it there and it works out for us. We'll live there for however long we want to. And that way he gets to be back with his parents since he's left since he's left Mexico. He only went back, I think, once when he was working on some documents. So this would give him a chance to be back in his country, be back around his family, especially his parents, and then would give me a chance to get to know them both, to get to know Mexico, to get to know what life is like over there, and if this is something that I, would like to, if this is a country I would like to live in, and if I liked, what it was all about over there. I already knew I loved the food. The Mexican food, like I love my Puerto Rican food, of course, but Mexican food is amazing. I don't think there's nothing that I don't like. I love the Mexican food. I love their culture, their art, their music, and of course, like I said, I love my people's music. It'll always be number one, but right next to my people is the Mexican people. I love the country. I love the people. I love their culture. Like I said, their music, their traditions, food, everything. And when I went there, so we decided, okay, we're going to make this move. We had already sold and given a lot of stuff away. So we had very few things, very basic things that we needed. And so we decided to leave those behind and just take suitcases. So it's like, I think we took like 2 suitcases each, whatever we could fit, we fit. It was just me and him and our baby. When we left Adriana, we decided to go to Mexico. Started off as a long, long vacation, but leading into possibly living there. And like I said, it was a chance for him to go back to his country, to spend some time with his family and his parents, and for me to get to know his parents and his siblings and stuff like that. And so we did. We made the move. We got our suitcases on our flights and we left. And my mother went with me, by the way. She went with me. She wanted to get to know Mexico as well. She was in need of a long vacation. She only ended up staying 3 months, which I didn't think she would stay there. I thought she was just going to be there a month just to kind of see where I was going, if I was going to be okay, if maybe it might be a possibility for her to even live there. She hadn't been on a vacation in a long, long time. So she wanted to come with us and just check it all out. And so I was so happy because my mom was coming with me. So yeah, I felt like not alone. I felt like, you have your security blanket. So, and things weren't like they were now in Mexico. So I'll finish this in my next video. This was just a preview of how it kind of all started, how me and my husband met, how it all started, and what led us to go to Mexico. So now we're on our way to Mexico. So I'll check you on the next video, continue our story, and what was it like living abroad.